Today, I yield back.
Mr. Johnson is recognized for 5 minutes.
I fear that too many Americans view the Chinese Communist Party as a threat over there, when in reality it is a threat here. That's why I was so grateful to hear General McMaster say tonight, it is a real mistake to give an adversary coercive power over your economy. And I was so grateful to hear Mr. Paul say we need tighter controls over CCP investment in this country, particularly in critical sectors. And so with that, Mr. Pottinger, others, I want to draw our attention to what is most assuredly a critical sector, and that is food. Food security is national security. We know that in recent years, the Chinese Communist Party has increased their holdings of farmland outside of China by 1,000%. During that same time frame, they have acquired 1,300 agricultural processing facilities. This is a deliberate and focused attempt. And so, Mr. Pottinger, to you, do we know to what extent those efforts by the CCP are motivated by their desire to gain the kind of coercive power that the general was talking about?
One of the reasons that we should be extremely careful about permitting purchases of farmland in the United States by companies that are beholden to the Chinese Communist Party is that sometimes that farmland is in proximity to sensitive installations, nuclear facilities or other military bases. There may be more that's at play as well. It certainly bears close scrutiny. Why has there been such a significant increase in Chinese purchases of farmland? I think that with the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States, there should be closer scrutiny on these purchases. We've seen some purchases go through even recently that were in relatively close proximity to military bases. I'm not sure why CFIUS chose not to scrutinize that particular deal. CFIUS has had a trend of not exercising its ability to actually block. Instead, they frequently try to mitigate, but those mitigation measures are usually hollow and don't actually protect our national security.
So with regard to the domestic investment, there are many in Congress, myself, Mr. Newhouse, others, who have legislation that would address that. I mean, let's focus on Chinese investment in food supply elsewhere. I mean, I think about the southern globe, Africa, South America, Southeast Asia. To what extent should that investment concern Americans?
Well, I think that the Communist Party's actions to try to lock up major supplies of commodities and goods, probably including food, but also certainly rare earths and materials, cobalt and things that go into everything from regular consumer products to military goods, is part of a grand strategy. It's not just haphazard. It's not just about making a buck.
Yeah, I think that bears repeating. This is part of a grand strategy, and I think it's something we want to be focused, thoughtful, and deliberate about. As we work to strategically decouple from the Chinese Communist Party, I think there is an opportunity there for us to draw our allies in the Indo-Pacific and elsewhere more closer. I think that's going to give us a great opportunity to protect freedom. It's not just, of course, in food security that this investment has the potential to create coercive power. I have a letter here, Mr. Chairman, from many within the communications industry that is talking about the importance of the rip and replace regime regarding Huawei and other Chinese telecommunications infrastructure. I'd ask for unanimous consent to enter it into the record. Hearing no objection.
Oh, sorry, consulting. There is no objection.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Mr. Pottinger, anything else you want to add with regard to telecommunications and potential threats for Chinese investment and infrastructure there?
Only that thanks to some enterprising reporting a few years ago by the Wall Street Journal, we know that Huawei was working with a couple of African governments to surveil political opponents in those countries, and in some cases those political opponents and activists were arrested and jailed. So Beijing is exporting all the tools that you would need to run a totalitarian system.
Thank you, Mr. Pottinger. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. I would not dare object to you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Stevens is recognized for 5 minutes.
Oakland